Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Jack and Joe Show. And we're joining you once again on the podcast feed as well. To those of you seeing us on YouTube, hello, you can see us. To everyone else, we make weekly content and we hope you absolutely love it. But Jack, straight from the horse's mouth, in Portugal, how are you doing?
Yeah, really good. Really enjoying my time out here in Faro, the Algarve. Because it's been so busy with rumours and news and matches, I actually haven't had much time to see the sights of the marina of Faro. So today is the day where I'll go out and probably have a look around. Today is, of course, Sunday. We play again tomorrow. So today is going to be a nice chill day, unless some big news drops.
Yeah, every time Jack goes to take a nap, he just gets a notification, FFC Joe sent you a tweet. And it's like the most rogue rumour ever, but you've got to make that content.
It's brilliant.
Here's the thing. A lot has happened since we last spoke, Jack, and it's only been 9 days.
Yeah.
We spoke last time. It was the day that we announced Ryan Sessegnon. We spoke just before then. We knew that it was basically a done deal pending the announcement. But there's been a lot of other transfer action, including confirmed and just some rumours that have either picked up or rumours that are completely new, some as recent as yesterday. But let's start quickly with Sessegnon, who you saw live playing against Benfica for the first time in a number of years. And that must have been a very special moment to see him come out on the pitch. What I thought was interesting, and I thought maybe we could speak about this briefly, is that he came on to replace Robinson. He came on at left back, and it is just a friendly. We had someone else to come on, play left wing in Godo. So what did you make of that, and what did you make of his first steps in a Fulham shirt again?
Yeah, I wasn't too surprised he came on at left back because I just think predominantly that might be the position he plays this season. I would like to see him further forward, but there are of course options now with like Smith-Rowe and even maybe Pereira who can drop on that side if Smith-Rowe sort of switches position with him. But I think Sessegnon, it was almost like that sort of meme from Ratatouille with the inspector when he eats the ratatouille and he gets brought back to his childhood, because it was honestly watching Sess was like me being like 17, 16 years old watching a 16-year-old Ryan Sessegnon play. And the way he strides forward, the way he runs, it's all very similar. It's all very much the same. And I think obviously he's going to take time to grow into that role, to grow into playing more regular first team football. But from what I saw when he came on, he did well. I thought actually Robinson was one of our best players the other night. I thought the threat we had going forward, we can talk about the pace on either side of Iwobi, Robinson and Adama. It was absolutely frightening at times to watch. But Ryan Sessegnon, it's great to see him back, taking pictures with the fans. They really wanted to get involved and get selfies with him. And I feel like he just feels at home. I don't know if you saw the behind the scenes footage of when he did the medical.
Yeah.
I mean, that reunion with TC was really, really heartwarming and one of the the great Fulham moments of recent times for me, because it's that link up that scored the goal in the playoff final and got us to the Premier League, and the rest is really history. But Sess is back, and I'm looking forward to seeing more and more of him over the next couple of games, hopefully.
100%. But yeah, like you just said, Jack, if you haven't watched the full access, which came out at the time of recording yesterday evening, it goes through the behind the scenes for the Sess medical and also Smith-Rowe, who we'll talk about now. But it's great content. Really nice how a lot of people are still there from when Sess was last at the club. Some of the staff that we maybe don't know, as we're not as familiar with his fans, recognised him. TC pointing out that Sess is still on the wall upstairs in the picture from the playoff final in Wembley. Just fantastic stuff. And Shahid Khan obviously came over as well. And interestingly, one thing I picked up on was he was speaking to Kearney as he walked in. He said, I've just been to look at the Riverside stand. And the reason that I find that interesting is there an update there? Is it close to being ready? I hope so. If not, I think someone probably just got bollocked, to be honest. But the Riverside stand has to be open soon. And when Sessegnon's speaking through, I'm spoiling the whole video if you haven't watched it, but go and watch it anyway. When he scored that goal in the semi-final against Derby, saying, I hit it from here. I went to celebrate over there. And he's just thinking about how different the stand looks now and how different the entire stadium looks as a result and the feel of it.
that there's still definitely. I mean, when we went to see the under-21s in the final against Spurs, that was after the last home game of the season. And there was some building work going on in not only the Riverside in the top right to where the Hammersmith is,
Yeah.
but also in the Hammersmith end as well. And I don't know what sort of upgrade that's going to be. Maybe it's just to facilitate a little bit more space for people to maneuver. And even in the video, I don't know if anyone saw, but there was some sort of scaffolding, some sort of building work going on in the Hammersmith end. And I did catch that. That was obviously from when we saw that against the Spurs under 21. So maybe there will be a little bit of a new look to Craven Cottage from the start of the season. Sometimes in the summer, clubs like to upgrade their stadiums a little bit by putting in, I don't know, a new screen or just, maybe new seats or something like that. But obviously, I was speaking to a Fulham fan yesterday who's out here in Portugal, and we were saying obviously the Riverside's not going to be fully open until November, apparently. But, it's each month, each week is getting closer and closer to that being open. So hopefully we're seeing almost the real thing of what the Riverside is going to look like when it's complete. Obviously, Ryan Sessegnon left the club, then came back, and the Riverside's obviously still not finished. But hopefully by the end of the year, we're going to see the Riverside, and I'll be amazed. I'll be looking forward to seeing what they've done in the Hammersmith end as well. I don't think it's anything like safe standing. They haven't announced anything like that. However, maybe a bit of an upgrade for some people. And it did look like it was in that sort of H7 area, which is actually where you sit as well. So maybe it's going to be...
I've clearly had a word and I said, look, guys, sort it out because the facilities there, they could be improved, let's say. They could be improved. What's interesting, like you said, that scaffolding, that whole area, that corner between H7, H8, over to the start of the Riverside stand, that sort of corner there, is basically being filled. It was already filled last season, but it looked like it was being filled more to the point where noise will stay within the stand easier. It won't be sucked out towards the river, and hopefully that will improve the atmosphere even more. I do feel as if this new Riverside stand has already improved things. Obviously not the most vocal stand in the world. That's not what I mean. I more just mean the overall architecture of the stadium and the dynamics of where the sound can travel to and from is great. And it's going to be fantastic when it's full. And hopefully that is ASAP. The second star of that video, Jack, was obviously Emil Smith-Rowe. Now announced as a Fulham player, a record signing for us, £27 million up front, up to 7 million in add-ons with a sell-on clause for Arsenal as well, that we believe is just over 10%. Obviously, those add-ons, according to David Ornstein's article, revolve around winning a trophy and European qualification. And music to my ears that Arsenal have accepted that, thinking that that's possible. For me, this is a needle-moving signing. This is someone that completely transforms our front line, is the new star man. We've paid a good amount of money for him to come in and be the main man in this team. He's gone from being a bit part player at Arsenal over recent seasons due to his injury, Arsenal's improvement overall, not being able to get back into the team, the competition that he was facing for both the attacking midfield and left wing positions there. This really, really excites me. And in this video, what you'll see again is the relationship that he has with Sessegnon, with Bernd Leno, and with Iwobi as well. It's good that he already has that relationship with those players. And I'm so excited for this signing. I really, as soon as the rumour first broke, from credit to him, Mike McGrath, back in June, or end of May, I think it was maybe early June, just saying that this is a signing that Silva wants. We got him, and we got him with a few weeks to spare. For all my moaning about not getting players in on time, one of Silva's main priorities we've got in, to the point where hopefully he'll play tomorrow against Sevilla. He'll play against Hoffenheim and start the season for us at Old Trafford. But Jack, so excited.
Yeah, and I was quite surprised that he wasn't in the squad for the game against Benfica. I just thought he would just hit the ground running. However, maybe he just needs to get a little bit more match sharpness. I mean, he was on the bench for a couple of the Arsenal games out in the USA, so he maybe was match ready. But maybe a couple more days just to sort of settle in, and hopefully we see him over the next couple of games. I think this is the marquee signing. This is the one that is going to be the headline signing of the summer for Fulham. I mean, you can see from the interactions of Arsenal fans, and when Arsenal posted their farewell tweet for Smith-Rowe, this is a player who's, come up through the Hale End Academy, had this sort of incredible partnership with Bukayo Saka, friendship with Bukayo Saka, which turned into a very, very now prominent song that Arsenal sung, and now obviously they can't sing that anymore. But Fulham could probably nab it and change it up and use it for ourselves.
Nabbed 100%.
But Smith-Rowe, incredibly exciting. I mean, even when he played for Huddersfield against Fulham, you could tell there was a player in there, goal and assist in a 3-2 defeat for Huddersfield against Fulham. And I'm just super excited. Obviously, he can play on that left-hand side. You imagine a scenario right now where on paper, we go to Old Trafford. I want this as our 11. As our front four. It would be Smith-Rowe left, Pereira, probably Adama Traore at this moment in time, and then Rodrigo Muniz up top. Obviously, Traore probably off the bench would make more of an impact like we saw last season. Maybe even Alex Iwobi as well. So, I mean, there is some really good options that Fulham have now. And obviously, I want to see how Smith-Rowe works in this team. I want to see how he operates in that forward line, and then we'll get a better understanding of what he'll bring to the team. But what I know is he's a quality player. He's also committed 5 years to the club with an option of a further year. That is going to take him to like 30 years old. So his prime years are going to be at Fulham if we can hold on to him, obviously. And it's just a really good move. I think there's also from Smith-Rowe's end, I think he's going to take some time to realise that he's left Arsenal. Even now he's signed for a few days now, and we've seen no change in his Instagram bio. He's still an Arsenal player according to Instagram. It doesn't mean anything, obviously, but also it might be a bit of a gut punch for him. And I'm not disrespecting our club in that aspect. I'm just saying I think he's going to be really upset of how it sort of panned out. He's always said he wanted to be at Arsenal his whole career, and Arsenal just upgraded their squad, and he had no sort of space to be in that first 11. Now, obviously, he's got the chance to revitalise his career like Pereira did when he came from Man United. I think this is a better and bigger opportunity for Smith-Rowe because he's got a higher ceiling.
Yeah, I mean, I see it both ways because on a human level, he's been there since he was a little boy. He's been publicly saying he would love to be a one-club man if he was able to because he's an Arsenal supporter. And, naturally, this is a big change of him. It's going to take a bit of time to get used to. But equally, from the other side of things, I think that we have handed him a huge opportunity here. We didn't have to. He could have had another season on Arsenal's bench. We are giving him an opportunity that is best for his career. He's staying in London. He's under a fantastic coach. He'll probably be the best paid player in the club. He signed a 5-year deal, which at least means he realises this and he realises how good an opportunity this is and he's keen to join. I hope that soon we see a bit more of the appreciation from the Fulham end, because I get it from the Arsenal point of view. I get why he appreciates that and is giving a lot of time to saying goodbye, because you would, 100% you would. I would be the same if I was leaving Fulham. It would be that sort of thing. But yeah, I think if you watch his interview, you do get the sense that he wanted this to be done quickly. He was hoping for the move to come to fruition ASAP, and obviously jetted back from the States apparently a week ago today on Sunday, according to the Athletic article. So super excited. I agree with you about that front four. It's tricky, isn't it, when you then start to think, Iwobi, Wilson. Then you think that we're linked to other wingers as well and other attackers, and it's like this depth is great. We haven't even mentioned young players like Stansfield, for example. So this is why we need the depth. Because you want to be able to throw Man United off. We want to have different options. But, if we want to maybe keep possession more, then I think you'd throw in an Iwobi or a Wilson. If you want to play more on the counter-attack, Adama's your man. If you want to really, spice things up, you could throw someone like Stansfield in. We have so many options, and that goes for not just the right wing position, but the number 10 left wing. Sessegnon can play there. Again, it's fantastic stuff. And I definitely see Smith-Rowe as the replacement for Willian. I think that that's what he's been brought in to be. I think that it's an upgrade, both in current quality and also potential, because obviously Willian's was a good servant for us for 2 years, but he's 35. He's not going to get better now. He's only going to decline with age. And I'm very, very happy with this. I don't see him replacing Pereira in the number 10 because I don't see us selling Pereira, and Marco Silva loves him. he's staying in that position. And I think
Yeah.
that what he does for the team, maybe myself, I've sometimes overlooked it, but the work rate is something that is hard to come by, and he does offer a lot. All I've ever wanted to see is more goal scoring from our number 10. If he can play a bit more like he did against West Ham away back in April, then we could see something like that happening. But, Jack, this brings us on to our next rumour. I'm going to skip the signing that we made yesterday for 1 second, just while we're speaking about goal scoring and players that can go further forward. Scott McTominay is someone that continues to be linked with us. Now, last summer, when we nearly lost Polinia the first time, it was rumoured that we made a last-ditch attempt to sign McTominay as the Polinia replacement. And last minute of the window, he didn't want to come. I get it. Let's think of it from a human level. With about 10 minutes to go, do you suddenly want to move City, uproot your life to the club you've been at for years? It's a larger situation than that, but things have changed. And the rumour is now that he'd be keen on the move. Our latest bid was around 20 million. Sounds like we might go back in again, and we think we can reach a compromise closer to 30. What do you make of this signing? Because I've seen mixed opinions on this one, whereas everyone was up for Smith-Rowe, everyone was up for Sessegnon. This one seems to divide opinion a bit more. I'm personally in the boat that he would be one of our best players on paper coming into squad. He brings quality. What's your take?
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, I think there's definitely some sort of confusion. When you said just now that we tried to sign some McTominay as a Polinia replacement, does that mean he's going to sit at the base of midfield? Predominantly, that's not his role for Man United. You see him much more advanced, much more box to box, much more getting into the box and getting on the end of chances. We saw that last season. We saw it the season before. He's really good at doing that, even for Scotland in the Euros, albeit they scored, one goal from open play, and it was basically McTominay. If not, it was an own goal. But I can't sit here and say this is a bad idea. This is a great idea. I think he'd bring energy, an aerial threat, a goal scoring threat, experience. Honestly, McTominay is he's such a decent player for Man United, and completely underappreciated, I think, in the wider sort of Premier League world. And I just think that for me, this makes a lot of sense. I wouldn't want him to sit, like I said, at the base of midfield. I thought Sasha Lukic actually sitting there the other night did fairly okay. I was really encouraged with his Serbia performances, the Euros, and I was fairly encouraged by his performance on Monday night. Harrison Reed could also play there right now on paper. But if you have McTominay as slightly more advanced, with Pereira sitting just in front of him, and lots of energy and running in between that space, and then tracking back whenever we get hit on the counter-attack, I think there's a player there who could make a real difference. Honestly, I think it would be such a good signing. And for 25 to 30 million pounds, I think this is a good signing. People, again, like I say, are confused as to, is this the Polinia replacement? I want to hear your thoughts, because obviously the elephant in the room is about Andre. And I don't know whether we want to talk about Andre today, because it's such a it's a hokey pokey. Is he in? Is he out? Shake it all about. I don't know what's going on with Andre. However, McTominay seems like more of a doable deal before the season starts. But the problem is, because we play United in the opening night, do United actually want to sell to us, knowing they've got us in less than 2 weeks' time?
It's interesting, because 99% of me thinks they would be silly to do that, because why would you? Like you say, they could wait until literally that Saturday and then commission the move then. But then you see that they need to sell to buy, reportedly, after they've already made some big money signings this summer. And you think that they're linked to the likes of Ugarte in central midfield, who they want to bring in ASAP before they play us. Most likely, they're also linked with the Bayern left back in that sort of triangle deal they've got with West Ham, Bayern, with Wan-Bissaka potentially going as well. So it's an interesting one. I think that if we put up the money now, they'll sell him. I don't think they'll wait, because they know that we'll go elsewhere. As a Polinia replacement, I don't want him, but I don't think he is the Polinia replacement, because I think that even if he's brought in to be slightly deeper, I don't think he'll be our most defensive player in the team. I think that we just change the way we play. We can't replace Polinia with the output of one player. We sort of have to use two. someone like Andre, like you said, we haven't spoken about it because 1 minute he's signing, the next minute the deal's off. We don't know anything. No really reliable source of reporting on it. So for the time being, we assume there is no news. But I don't think it's a coincidence that you're looking at a similar price for McTominay and Andre. I don't know if it's both at this point. I think it might be one or the other. And then we can explore the loan market. We have 2 Premier League loans to use. Using this as an example, it's not a player that I particularly want right now due to the confidence levels and what we saw. But let's say Calvin Phillips, for example, would be available. A loan deal there would make sense later down the line in the window. So not saying that I'm calling for Calvin Phillips, although Silva has a track record for bringing players back to their best, is what I'll say there. I think McTominay is someone that would add so many goals from our midfield, adds physicality that we're currently missing, that we lost with Polina going. And I put on our Telegram, which I implore anyone to join. We have a lot of good transfer chats. I put there the other day, the game that stuck in my mind is why I want McTominay. Is a bit of a weird one, but it was when we played Newcastle at home at the start of April. We dominated the game, completely dominated it. Our forwards had an off day. Muniz had a great chance, couldn't quite score. Willian wasn't doing great that day. He wasn't really on it. We missed so many chances, clear-cut chances as well. Newcastle's forwards had an off day as well. Isaac and Gordon uncharacteristically missed decent chances, but 80th minute of the game, midfielder crashing the box in Bruno Guimaraes, and guess what? He scores and we lose 1-0. And we miss that player. We don't have that player in midfield currently. Smith-Rowe improves us tenfold in terms of goal scoring because he has so many goal scoring related actions a game. Can score from range as well. But, someone like McTominay that can come and crash the box from deep is someone that we're missing. Harrison Reed, Lukic, Kearney, they don't do that. Andres Pereira doesn't do it enough. This would be a huge improvement to adding to our threat, I think. And that's why it really, really excites me. And I hope that we can get it done before we go to Old Trafford, because let's face it, if he does sign before then, we know the script. And that excites me greatly.
Honestly, United away is now always on my mind, and it's the reason why is because I think about the last 3 performances we had at Man United away. The win last season, the loss on the last day of the season, the first season we went up, in the FA Cup quarter-final. I think in 2 or 3 of those games, the FA Cup and the win, we played extremely well. We actually played okay as well on the last day. We went a goal up and we lost, but it was the last day of the season. It's hard to sort of draw a conclusion from that game.
I mean, on another day we go 2-0 up there, and then
we had a penalty, didn't we?
So yeah,
that's true. But what got me going is that counter-attacking threat that Fulham are posing. Benfica had a lot of the ball. And then suddenly, as soon as we got it, it would either go to Robinson or Traore. Traore had, including the goal, he had 2 bursts of pace that I've never seen anything like it. It was like watching an Olympic sprinter. He is genuinely incredibly quick. And like I said earlier, we saw that at United away. It created the goal for Iwobi. He has to play some sort of part in that game on that Friday night. But basically, I just think that Fulham are going to have a lot of chances against United. United, I don't think tactically are going to improve in the way that they occupy their midfield. They leave far too much space in that midfield. And I think that literally we could use that performance we did last season as a massive blueprint as to how to play against United. And I think we'll have very, very similar results in terms of having that midfield. I'd be very happy to have the exact same midfield that we had against United play. Sasha Lukic had so much space to run into. Iwobi was fantastic. Pereira was brilliant. And then you've got the likes of Kearney who can come on, and Traore. And obviously now we've upgraded the squad. We've got Smith-Rowe. I mean, I genuinely think I know obviously we'll talk about it more next week. We're actually going to have our Premier League preview next week, giving our predictions for everything. I'm looking forward to that a lot. But I genuinely think that we're going to get a lot of joy at United on a counter-attacking basis, on an overturning the ball sort of situations, and I think we're going to get into the box a lot of times and create chances. It's just about, last time, actually, even though we won the game, we had so many chances. I watched the highlights back the other day to remind myself we had so many chances, but we just didn't score. We should have scored about 4 or 5 goals in that game. If we can nullify Man United's threats, they'll probably play Xerxes up front. They're going to miss Højlund. They're going to miss Yoro. That they have a lot of injury issues. They lost 3-0 during the night against Liverpool, a Liverpool team that wasn't very strong at all. Fabio Carvalho scored, Simicas scored, Diego Jota scored. I genuinely think we're going to get a lot of joy, and that's based on what I saw against Benfica and in those transitions where United away, Old Trafford's a massive pitch, absolutely huge. I think we're going to get a lot of joy through Robinson, through Traore, if he plays some sort of part, even Wilson or Wobie Smith-Rowe. Down the flanks is where I think Fulham will definitely hurt United, and maybe through the middle as well, with Sasha Lukic driving forward. I know I've obviously, this is a week in advance really, but it really got me quite excited for what's to come. And I just want to ask you quickly, the away shirt is out and it's just magnificent, isn't it?
Corker, love it. Both of them this year, in fact. But I think the away in particular.
That's brilliant.
They did put on the website there will be a third shirt coming out at some point over the next few weeks, which will be great. Don't know where that away shirt will be debuted, because we normally obviously wear white at Old Trafford. We normally wear white at Ipswich, so we'll have to wait and see.
City.
But City does seem the likeliest, because obviously we then play Forest, don't we? So
or tomorrow night we can play it if Sevilla play wearing white.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's actually very true. One more link to talk about, which actually will bring us nicely onto our new signing. Silva said publicly that he wants 2 centre-backs. Now, we've got one. Actually, let's talk about the one that we've got first. Let's talk about him and let's give him his dues, because I think he made a very good impression to the fan base so far with his self-made edits, and he seems like a lovely, lovely chap. I'm very excited to join Fulham, which is what we all want to see as fans. And apologies if I'm butchering the pronunciation of George Cuenca, who's joined us from Villarreal, left-footed centre-back, came up through Barcelona Academy, ball-playing defender, started a lot of games then last season, and we've taken him, which is fantastic. And we think that he's going to be the backup to Bassi, replacing Tim Ream, who has apparently not travelled to Portugal, according to all the pictures, videos. It's not been publicly said, but let's face it, he's not there.
He's not here.
I think that this is another floor-raising signing, Jack. I think it's someone with a lot of potential, only 24 years old, reportedly around 6.7 million deal, some of which goes to Barca with their sell-on clause. But this is just someone that came out of absolutely nowhere. We should mention exclusive from Fabrizio Romano. Got a here we go, out of nowhere, fantastic. It's what we all want to see, where it's just a sudden signing. It would be a lot better if we didn't know it was coming at all, but in all honesty, he was in all the Fulham videos anyway. So, it wouldn't have been super secret. We'd have just been deciphering who he is. But I'm excited for this. I hope that we see him in action tomorrow night, briefly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wish I knew about this player. I really wish I watched La Liga. I just don't have the time. It's the Premier League is all consuming. Then you got the Championship, League 1, League 2. It's chaotic. But luckily, we do know people who are in the know about La Liga, and Jack J. Collins gave a very glowing review of Cuenca, and now I'm excited. I'm excited because I think one of the most important things we had to do this summer, and it was so important, that the average age of the squad had to come down.
Absolutely.
And I love Ream, I love Willian, but if we're losing them to replace them with 24-year-olds, 25-year-olds, it really does benefit the team. I mean, you remember 13-14, we had such an old squad, we went down, it was a disaster. And this, I'm not saying anything like that would have happened this season. I think we've got a very strong squad, but George Cuenca, I'm very much looking forward to seeing what he can do. I really do hope he plays against Sevilla. That's nothing against Bassi. I thought Bassi was brilliant the other night. Great goal line clearance. But I just want to see him play 60, play 80 minutes, see what he's about, see how comfortable he is on the ball playing centre-back. I mean, obviously, we'd like to play out from the back, him and Diop. It'll be an interesting partnership. We obviously will come on to the right centre-back rumour in just a second as well. But, signing a player you don't know anything about is obviously, one, exciting, and two, just, I don't know. There's no other point to it. It's just exciting. I don't think he'll start at Old Trafford unless he's absolutely imperious. But there's potential there, and there's glowing reviews from him. He's played a lot of football in La Liga. He's the last couple of seasons he's played quite a lot of games. Actually scored 3 goals last season, which is interesting. It's another aerial threat. I think Fulham have got way better at set pieces and their use of set pieces since Silva came in. So again, it's another threat. If we have him and we have McTominay, maybe, and Muniz, then there's some really good threats in the box for Fulham. I'm excited. We'll see him tomorrow night. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, and like you said, it is exciting. He's received some glowing reviews from Villarreal fans online that were shocked to see him go. They've lost a lot of players this summer, so it's been a summer of discontent there. A lot of key squad members have gone, Cuenca being the latest. But welcome to Fulham, another signing. Glad to get another one through the door. And you would think that leaves us with one more signing to get a centre-back. So you sort of think on the left, we've got Bastian Cuenca. On the right, we've got Diop and potentially Diego Carlos is the only rumour that we have at this point. He's obviously been at Villa for a couple of years now. Had a bad injury there during his first season, I believe. And then last season was far more involved. I know a lot of Villa fans have said mixed things about him online. He's a bit erratic. He got sent off for 2 yellows in their last pre-season friendly. Reportedly not against leaving, according to everything that we've read, necessarily if there's a better opportunity. We have a strong Brazilian core at Fulham. I wonder if that could help sway things. But you see about him, he's 31. Experienced. I remember from last season he had 2 imperious performances against Arsenal. Was man of the match in both. So they won 1-0 and 2-0 respectively. Does have a mistake in him. So does any defender, realistically. To me, he is an upgrade on Issa Diop. And I think that if you had those 4 that I've just named as our 4 centre-backs next season, we would be in a great shape and a better shape than we were last season.
Absolutely. Carlos would definitely upgrade the back line. And we must mention as well, Cuenca can play at left back as well. He can play at left back. So,
True.
Maybe we push Sessegnon a little bit further forward and Robinson takes a little break, especially in those maybe Carabao Cup games that we'll have in the next few weeks. But on Carlos, I mean, we need 2 right-sided centre-backs. Tosin obviously left and he's had a disastrous start to his time at Chelsea. Oh no, anyway. So, I think that Diego Carlos will be a huge asset to the club. And, we just spoke about, the average age of the squad coming down. But at 31, an experienced centre-back is also very, very valuable at this level, especially at Premier League level. Of course, he played for Sevilla before joining Villa, a team we're playing tomorrow night. Yep. So if I find any journalists that are covering Sevilla, I might ask them about Diego Carlos and see what sort of review they have from when he played in Spain. Obviously, it was a big money move for Carlos when he went to Aston Villa. But if we could get a reasonable fee for this, if we could pay a reasonable fee for this, for Diego Carlos, then I'd be very happy. Fulham are looking to splash the cash this season. We brought in, we sold Mitrovic and we've sold Paulinho, and that's given us some wiggle room in the market. And as long as we stay within FFP, which I think right now, I think we're in a good place. So I'm not too worried about it right now. Then I'm all for it. 4 centre-backs is exactly what you need. And we still got the likes of Defugarols coming through as well. Very exciting. I wonder if he'll get a loan out, but I'd like to think he could feature in the Carabao Cup or something like that. Or maybe even feature tomorrow night or against Hoffenheim. I'd like to see him get a run out. But Carlos, I'm all for. Would love that. Another Brazilian. And again, makes sense. One player we must talk about is Josh King.
Yeah.
For him to play in the number 10 position, start in the number 10 position ahead of Andres Pereira. I know it's only a friendly, but I was incredibly excited. Obviously, he's Wimbledon born. So, he's obviously very close to where we live. So obviously it's a big story. He went to my primary school. We went to school together for a very, very brief amount of time. So it's an incredibly exciting story. He is 17. I haven't had this completely confirmed, but I think it's right. He can't be loaned out this season because he's a scholar. And if you're a scholar...
you could be right.
He can't be loaned out. So when people were saying, the other night that we should loan out King, I sort of want to reply and say, I don't think we can, but I'm just not sure. I'm going to have to find out. However, he gave the ball away a couple of times. He did look out of place a couple of times, but you think about it, he's playing European opposition. And I'm just incredibly encouraged that we're bringing through someone at 17 and he's being integrated into the first team to the point where he's actually starting and playing fairly well.
Holding his own,
Yeah.
Super, super exciting. Like I say, if we could loan him out, I think it would be perfect. And I hope there's some sort of loophole there, because him getting regular first team action is the best possible thing to become more accustomed to, I suppose, the professional men's game physically. Because technically he seems to have all the attributes there already. Obviously, he's just young. He's a bit like Carvalho when he first broke through, when he probably could get muscled off the ball a bit because of his size. But it's really exciting that Silva rates him so highly. Also great for us that, we've shown faith in him early doors, so that when he does have to make a decision about signing, longer term, hopefully we have better luck than we have had previously. We've had a lot of younger players penning their longer term futures here recently. We spoke about them last week, becoming more of a regular feat. So hopefully that continues with King. But fantastic. And, we'll probably see an array of changes tomorrow. I imagine he'll come out of the team to start with and probably come on off the bench. You imagine it would be Pereira from the off, for example, in his place. But then that Hoffenheim game, we'll see. But wouldn't it be amazing to have King get a few minutes this season, even if it's cup games? Like him starting in the Carabao Cup early rounds would be fantastic. The FA Cup, getting some appearances off the bench in the Premier League would just be wonderful. And that's how you have to start bedding in the players if they aren't going out on loan.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one player who is catching the eye a little bit as well, especially coming off the bench the other night, was Adrian Pajaziti, a player who... Yeah. He's played Carabao Cup football for Fulham, even under, it was under Silva, I think it was, against Birmingham, when Stansfield scored as well. I think that Pajaziti, it's now or never for him. I think a loan, it would be, I guess he could go out on loan. I think he'd do a good job. I don't think he's actually had a loan since he's joined Fulham. He's just been predominantly in the under-21s. But it is now or never for Pajaziti. And I do think that he could be involved in the first team. It's another midfield option. Suddenly, with all the links that we've had to midfielders and with Pajaziti, Harrison Reed, Sasha Lukic, and we've actually got quite a few options there. I don't think he's Premier League ready. I don't think he'll start. But he just could be another academy player who makes the bench and gets the odd minute here and there. Carabao Cup, FA Cup, like you say. I just don't know. If... I suppose he's only 21 still. Maybe one loan and then he comes back and then we see, how he's progressed. I do think there's a player there. I really do. I think he's good. I think he's really good. But there's competition for places. It's going to be extremely hard to break through into the first team. But one to watch for sure.
Yeah. It's just tough, isn't it? Because it's a bit like Francois a couple of years ago. He had a couple of appearances in the Championship, a few cup games as well. Was looking good. I think we should say he wasn't setting the world alight. He was looking good and he was looking comfortable at that level. Obviously, then he just can't maintain his place in the team, and it gets to a point when, even though he's a young player, the market that we're in now, we're sort of signing players at this age, and we can buy players that are further along in their career trajectory, and it gets to a point where if you're getting loaned out every year, there has to be an end game for you as a player. So I hope that players like Pajaziti can make it at the club, because it's fantastic when academy players do. But I do know what you mean in terms of, every year that goes by, he's been around for a few years now in the academy every time, playing under 23 football, for example. You want them to break through now. The problem that we've got as we further improve our squad, and we're going to bring in more players as well, like we mentioned, there's less and less space for them to break through. And that is the difficult thing to manage about being a more successful Premier League club than maybe we have been in recent years, is you need to complement your squad with youth players rather than rely on them necessarily. And that'll be interesting to see how Silva and his staff can negotiate it, because one thing that Silva hasn't done is play younger players too much in the league game. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there.
Of course, for players like Pajaziti, for players like Josh King, there is really good opportunity to play in the EFL Trophy Fulham have got Shrewsbury,
Yeah.
and they've got Birmingham, and they've got Walsall, all away from home within the next few months. And I just think that, that is also a pathway to sort of make an impression. And it's not like playing for Fulham under-21s there's nothing wrong with it. I think that the under-21s, especially under-23s, under-21s of recent years, have been incredibly successful on the pitch. We might talk about a player now in Luke Harris, who unfortunately looks like he's going out on loan to Birmingham. But I think I'm frustrated by that, because I think obviously Birmingham will be at the top of League One for the season. I think that they'll probably get promoted. But after his time at Exeter, I did think he was ready for the Championship. But League One, I suppose, is okay, another year. But again, it's just sort of that player again who is sort of kicking the can down the road and seeing. It does feel like inevitable. I never thought that Tyrese Francois would ever break through. I do think Luke Harris has a chance to break through at some point. Same with Pajaziti. But these constant loans, I get it. Obviously, there's no space for these players to play in the first team. They have to find first team football elsewhere in men's football, in the EFL or abroad. But Luke Harris, I think he signed a contract last season or the season before, actually. So there is potential there. I feel sorry for these players, because obviously they've been in the academies for so long, and then they go out on loan, and even if it goes well, like Marshall Goddo, it went really well for him. There's just no space for Goddo in this team at the moment. Obviously, he can play in a friendly, but when it comes to the big time, I just don't think there's space. Which is why the EFL Trophy is good. If these players stick around, they get minutes in that competition for sure. Hayden Mullins will play them, and actually we'll have a really strong squad against teams that will probably rest certain players for their league games. So there's a chance that Fulham could progress in that competition. We must talk about Jay Stansfield. Wasn't on the bench against Benfica, which made Birmingham fans extremely excited. He's still in Portugal, of course. I have a very strong opinion that if we sold Stansfield, I think it would be really not good. Yeah. I think that Marco made the point last season that Stansfield was ready to come into the first team and play his part. And I think he should. I think he should be a part of this team. I think he's an asset that will be fantastic for us. I think off the bench, even from the start, I think he'll add something different, a bit of rawness, a bit of hunger. And I just want to know your thoughts on Stansfield, because a lot of fans are obviously hoping he stays. Birmingham are just convinced they've signed him. I don't think anything's close to that sort of stuff, that sort of deal happening. Let's just hope he can feature in the next couple of games, and we might see him on the bench at Old Trafford.
Yeah, Birmingham are interested in him, but who wouldn't be? Sure, in League One, he's a striker that is way above that level. Would be the best player in the league, I think. So yeah, I think the 5 million, 6 million rumours that have been going around, I think that's way too low. Regardless, even before you get into should we sell him, it's just for that price, it's a no. I wouldn't pick up the phone, if I was Fulham. I think that Silver's saying that he wants Stansfield to be involved. There is a gap for him there currently in terms of Bobby Reed's gone, and I feel like he's someone that's versatile enough across the front line that he can fill that void. He can play number 9, he can play in behind the striker or on the wing, probably on the right-hand side, like he did against Brentford when he started for us in the Prem a couple of years ago. And he had a great performance that day. So I really think that what Stansfield wants is to play football, which I understand. And if we can assure him that he'll play enough football here, then we should keep him. I think that if we can't assure him of that, which is possible, then we should loan him out. I don't think we should sell him. I think we should loan him out, and I think we should loan him out to the Championship again, because I think that's the best move for him. I don't think we should be considering him touching League One football, because that would be a step backwards. I think that he would be willing to stay if we can promise him football. I don't know if we can promise him football. So I'd be happy enough with loaning him out if he really wanted to play first team football this season. That'd be a compromise I would be willing to negotiate.
I think that's a good point, to be fair. The thing is, I think that Stansfield can go to the top. And if he's in and around the first team this season, he'll get that under-21s England call-up. And then anything can happen from there. I think he's that good. I just want to see him play consistently or semi-consistently for Fulham in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Albeit he'll go out on loan and play every game for whatever club he joins. Joe, let's wrap up because we have things to do and places to be. Thank you so much for joining me today. I mean, there's so much to talk about. There's so many individual players we've spoken about. Definitely this time next week when we preview the Premier League season and give our full predictions, not only to the Premier League, but to the Championship as well. Exciting. We'll do top 6 and relegation. There'll be more players to talk about. There'll be another game to talk about in the Benfica. And then we're going to be, we go to Germany on the 9th. So we'll work it out, I'm sure. But thanks so much for being here. And it was great fun.
Yeah, thanks to everyone that watched. Thanks to everyone that listened on the podcast as well. We'll see you next week. Like Jack said, that'll be probably a slightly bumper episode with our predictions, like it always is. But yeah, really exciting week for Fulham. Hopefully another one in store coming up. And Jack, enjoy the rest of your trip in Portugal.
Thanks very much. I'm looking forward to seeing us play again. I think we look in good shape. I know we had to ride our luck in the second half, but Leno was fantastic, making all those saves as well. Thanks so much for watching. Thank you so much for the support on the channel. We're really excited, and we're really excited about the views that we got for the last video, given Sessegnon joined just moments after. Thanks so much for listening. We'll be back next week to preview the Premier League season 24-25, and I'm very excited, and I'm sure you are too, Joe. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for being here. Thanks so much for listening. And Joe, we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Thanks, everyone.
Superb. Let's go. Come on, Fulham.